Delicious, delicious coffee. Black elixir. Lifeblood of my blood, of my energy, of my ability to write. Hello there! Welcome back to Max's Writing Advice Q&A. In tonight's video, I've got a selection of questions sent by viewers just like you and picked through a random number generator. Every week, you send the questions and I answer them. As always, if you have a question you would like to send my way, leave it in the comments down below. I will answer it. I'll give you like a really quick 2-sentence response. It's kind of like my new modus operandi, MO, plan for the time being. I've really been wanting to like get more interactive, and I realized, you know what? I'll give you a quick reply, and then, you know, if you come up through the lottery that is the weekly writing Q&A, I will give you a longer, more explanation for my tips and or advice. But this has gone on way too long. Let's take it from the top. As always, the following is merely just my advice, my opinion on what works for me. Don't take it as gospel, instead take it as the ramblings of a silly person who looks a little bit, or rather precisely like this. 3 questions, 3 minutes a pop. Let's dive right in. The first question goes a little bit like this. Hey Max, I have a question. I am currently writing a story with a protagonist that has his own personal demons, but I am scared that how this protagonist is written is going to make the consumer hate him, and with the storyline I currently have, I can't let that happen. It will mess a lot of things up. So I would really appreciate it if you gave me some advice on this subject. This is a pretty standard question. This is a question that I feel that I don't want to say we tackle every 3 to 4 weeks, but I think it's something to be reminded of, as always. And it's a nice beginning question, especially if this is the first time you're watching my videos. Hello there, people. My name's Max. I give writing advice. I write books for a living. All right, 3 minutes. Let's go. This fear, of course, it's completely rational, is the fear and concern, the doubt, the hesitation that strikes before you write. The idea of you're trying to do something, and you're afraid of how people will interpret it and how people will react to it. And while this fear is completely understandable, there is absolutely zero control that you have over people's reaction to your content. You can inspire them to feel one particular way. You may encourage them to do so through the writing, through the way that you display things, to the way that you relay what you're trying to say through narration and such. But you have zero control. There are people who are going to hate what you do, no matter what you do, for completely subjective reasons, and by the same token, there will be people who love whatever you make for no objective reason whatsoever. Also, as a little bit of a side note, I'm not trying to, like, minimize the situation, but I want to remind you as well that, like, you're not the first person to tell a story about a complex character in a dark situation. I particularly feel that those are the most fun scenarios for myself. I love, especially if you're reading Overflow, by the way, the serialized story that I have on Wattpad. I love finding myself a character in a real bad situation and seeing how they deal with things, how they justify their actions. That's all fun for me. But it's just my own point of view. My thing is this: you can worry and worry and worry and worry about how people may react to the things that you make. But the reality is this: people are not gonna hate it, and they're not gonna love it, and they're not gonna read it unless you finish it. So I recommend to you, dear writer, first off, let go of these fears, because you have no control over them. It's the same thing as the weather. So again, if you have no control over how people will react, then you might as well just tell whatever story you want to tell, right? Whatever excites you, whatever inspires you to write. So please go out, keep on writing, and share that story with the world. Okay? The second question of the day goes a little bit botched. The second question goes like this: I burnt out in grad school when I was so physically and mentally stressed that my writing suffered, and to add insult to injury, my professors told me I was a bad writer. I know I'm not, but I just can't get back on the fiction writing horse. I started watching your videos for inspiration, but is there something to help with burnout? I think this is a really good question, and the centerpiece for this video. I'll take it from the top. The first point that I have is not entirely relevant to what you're dealing with, but I'm gonna say it for anybody out there who feels that they may just be starting to feel burnout. Taking breaks really helps. I recently, I am working on a bit of a side project for a game jam, and I worked on it super hard, like 4 days, like back to back. And I mega burnt out. I super burnt out for about What's 24 times 4? What is it, 128? I don't remember. I can't do math right now. For 4 days back to back, I was thinking, eating, drinking, sleeping, thinking about this project, and I mega burned myself out. I am really bad about that. I can get things done real quickly, but then I have to be careful to not burn myself out. So if anybody out there is feeling a little bit like that, I would like to inspire you to take breaks. Please. Step back, do something else. Getting out of that mindset, going for a walk, stepping away can really help you gain a different perspective. That is why I love washing dishes. Washing dishes is one of, at least for me, a really fun activity because it just lets me just listen to music and just think about something that may not be related to the writing, though of course it always helps me find the best ideas. Now. Another thing, you're coming back into writing, you haven't been dealing too well, you were super burnt out, and now you're coming back. You're reaching for inspiration? Thank you for finding me. I hope that you enjoy my content. What other things can help? Well, in my experience, I would like to inspire you to find a fun story. Like I mentioned in the previous question, find something that excites you, something that really makes you want to write, and just chase it. Unapologetically, without fear, hesitation, or doubt, just write it. I recently tweeted or retweeted someone's really sweet message. I think it was Winona. I don't even know if they watch these videos, but one of my lovely mutuals on Twitter, never be ashamed of the things that you make. No matter how self-indulgent they may be, someone out there's gonna love them. And I think that it's partially because of, like, crossover in niches, like, oh, I also like that thing, but it's also when someone makes something that they really, really enjoy and had fun making it, you can feel it. I keep saying this about the Lemony Snicket books, but you can tell that guy was having a goddamn blast writing those books. They're just dripping with character. You just have to commit. You just have to commit to whatever you want to make. One of the things that just keeps stopping people is this feeling of, like, I can't make a story about this because it's too much of what I like, or it's not, like, congruent to what's selling right now, and that's like a whole, like, video on its own. But none of those fears, like, matter, honestly. If I have to say, like, nobody will care, someone will care. Some people will freaking love your story, no matter how weird it is. Trust me. The market doesn't matter. If you're making what's popular right now, you're always one step behind everyone else anyway, really. But the market is so freaking weird, and it takes so long for books to come out, it doesn't actually really matter. Just write whatever excites you, honestly. If you're asking me what's the best modus operandi, what's the best course of action, the best way you can go about doing things, have fun. If you're gonna spend years working on this book, if you're gonna spend a long time writing it and revising it, then sending it out to people and selling it, you might as well have fun making the entire process. That's how I feel about it. It also gives you that whole, like, ownership thing of, like, yeah, I'm doing what I want to do, as opposed to, yeah, I'm writing this book that's popular right now in this genre because I want it to sell. Out of the two, I prefer having fun. Just commit to something, find a story idea that excites you, and just chase it. Just chase it, unapologetically, without fear, without hesitation, without doubt. Okay? Okay. And as for the final question of the day, it goes a little bit like this. I've been watching your videos. Thank you, by the way. Thank you. You're so sweet. In them, you talk about writing in a chapter-by-chapter basis. But my approach is more scenes than chapters. Can an approach be too raw? Can an approach be too raw? Nobody can definitely be too smackdown. Ah! Is this the first time I've made a wrestling joke in one of these writing videos? I make them on my LP videos. I point over there. Over there are my LP videos. Yeah, to the left of your perspective. Yeah, on the edge of the screen. Anyways, I'm not particularly sure what you mean by can an approach be too raw. I guess if you're working on scene by scene as opposed to a chapter basis, I guess you could consider it to be raw. Ultimately, here's the dealio. I say that I work on a chapter-by-chapter basis, and that's what really helps me sit down to write. Instead of sitting down to write and saying, I'm gonna write 6,000 words today, because I'm ridiculous. Instead, I sit down and I ask myself, okay, I want to write this chapter, and maybe, like, the start of the next chapter. And my chapters are usually, like, I don't want to say a bundle of scenes, because that makes it seem as though it's, like, five scenes. 2 at most? 2 to 3, maybe? But that's just the way that I have come to see stories within that's the way that I package them inside of my mind and express them through my writing process. Everyone does things differently. And it's also like part of like the thing of language, like what's a scene to you, what's a scene to me. Ultimately, as long as you're telling the story, there's no problem. In case you feel that maybe a raw approach to storytelling is a little bit, I guess, too much, I would like to remind you that one of the most popular dystopian novels of our time, The Running Man by Stephen King, is actually a countdown of 100 scenes. Yes, you heard that correctly. The Running Man is 100 scenes, counting backwards from 100 to 1, if I recall correctly. That was a nice novel. It's just scenes. It's just scene, 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 scene. Though, of course, if someone wanted to argue, you could say that it has 100 chapters of one scene each. But then again, we're just arguing semantics at this point, right? If you're telling the story, and it works for you, and that's the way that you tell stories, and hey, guess what? I guess you could say it's raw, but that doesn't make it bad. It doesn't make it ineffective. Everyone tells stories differently. Find your flow, find the way that you do things, and move on and have fun, okay? Simple as that. And that's about it for today's video. That was fun! These were some really fun questions, and if you have questions you would like to send my way, I am making it a point now to give like a mini answer to them. So if you have a question, leave it, and I will give you a mini answer right away, maybe in a day or so as I read the comments. It takes me a little while, but I am going to do it. It's a promise. So feel free to leave your questions in the comments down below, as well as your thoughts on the questions that were answered today. Do you have your very own point of view? I would love to hear what you have to say. And one more thing before I go, if you would like to support future content, please consider pledging to my Patreon page. It is a website where you pledge a certain amount of money every month and you gain awesome perks. Would you like to watch my videos early? You can do so on Patreon by pledging just $1 a month. Of course, if pledging to Patreon is not your cup of tea, you can buy me a cup of coffee instead. It's a one-time donation, link in the description down below. But anyhow, I gotta get going. Thank you for watching. Thank you for spending a little bit of your day with me, and I will see you on the next one.